Hello and welcome to the tutorial on how to operate the Scenario Manager in AquaTwin software. In this video, we will discuss different functionalities and benefits of using the Scenario Manager in all AquaTwin software. The Scenario Manager is located in the Digital Twin tab in the Data Explorer. It can be accessed by clicking the Scenario Manager button here or in the Digital Twin tab in the AquaTwin ribbon here. Once inside the Scenario Manager, you can see that every project begins with a base parent scenario. You can add a new child scenario by clicking the plus button and then choosing the scenario name. This copies everything from its parent scenario to the child scenario. You can toggle through the scenarios by clicking the Make Current button, by double-clicking either scenario, or by using the drop-down menu in the Digital Twin tab. If you go to the Digital Twin settings and then go to the Scenario tab, you can check Auto Map Redraw on scenario switching to automatically redraw the map when switching scenarios. To delete a scenario, you simply choose the scenario and click the minus button and click Yes. In the Scenario Manager, you will also see that every asset type in each scenario can be assigned a twin set. A twin set can be thought of as a unique scenario for that individual asset, pattern, curve, or other simulation option. If a scenario does not reference any twin set, the entire scenario is completely unique, and anything changed in that scenario will not produce changes in another scenario. Now you can see I created and assigned a base twin set to all asset types in this scenario. This is considered a good practice if you plan on dealing with multiple scenarios. If I create a new scenario, let's call it Proposed 1, and if I go to that scenario, you'll see that the twin sets in the child scenario inherit the twin sets from the base parent scenario. In this new proposed scenario, let's say that I want to change the roughness of the pipe flowing into the storage node, the offset of this orifice, and the boundary condition of the outfall. Since I'm only changing those three asset types, I will simply create a new proposed twin set for those three assets and assign them to the proposed scenario. To create a new twin set, I can come to the drop-down menu here and click on Twin Sets, or click on Twin Sets in the Digital Twin tab. Once in this dialog box, I select the asset type that I would like to create a new twin set for and specify its name. I've already made a new proposed twin set for conduits, orifices, and outfalls, since those are the three assets that I will be changing in this scenario. Once the new twin sets are created, you can go back to the Scenario Manager dialog box to assign the twin sets to their corresponding scenario. To do this, make the scenario active and choose the appropriate twin set from the drop-down menu in that asset type. Now any changes that I make to these three asset types in the proposed scenario will be unique to that twin set. Now let's make the changes to those three asset types. Make sure that you have the correct scenario active. The first change I'm going to make is I'm going to increase the roughness from this conduit going into the storage node, and I'll increase that to 0.02. The next change I'm going to make is I'm going to increase this inlet offset to 2 feet for this orifice. And the last change is I'm going to use a normal flow boundary condition for this outfall. And then I will run this model. So now I'm going to toggle back and forth between the scenarios and show you the changes. So in my proposed scenario for this conduit, I increased the roughness to 0.02. If I go back to the base scenario, since that's referencing a different twin set, you can see that the roughness for that conduit is 0.016. Now that I'm in my base scenario, I can look at this orifice that I changed. It was 1.5 as an inlet offset. If I go to the proposed scenario, you can see that it's now 2. And in the proposed scenario, I changed this to a normal flow boundary condition, whereas in the base scenario, it was a free boundary condition. So now let's go back into our scenario manager and let's look at subcatchments, let's say. The subcatchments for the base scenario and the proposed scenario both share a twin set. So any change that I make in this base scenario is going to also make the change in the proposed scenario when it comes to subcatchments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this area from 5 acres to 4 acres. And then I'm going to switch scenarios and go to the proposed scenario. And now that you can see, it is also says that it is 4 acres in this scenario as well. And that is because they share a twin set. So this was a pretty simple example, but let's say that you have 20 different scenarios in your model and you kind of get confused about where the changes have been made. What you can do is you can click on this drop-down menu and hit Compare Scenario. And if I expand this, it's going to show the different changes that are made between scenarios. So I'm going to compare the proposed scenario with that base scenario. And if you remember the changes that we make, one of them was the conduits. So if I click on conduits, I can expand this. It's showing that all 12 of the conduits in the model matched. I didn't create any new conduits or I didn't delete any new conduits. And so if I come up here and click on this green button, it's now showing the different changes that I made in this model. And if I expand this, you can see that I changed the roughness from 0.016 to 0.02. And you can use this for any single asset that you change between scenarios. For instance, if I go to outfalls, you can see that I didn't add or delete them. I have the same outfall in there. And if I hit show changes, I can expand this and you can see that I changed it from a free outfall to a normal outfall boundary condition. Another feature of the scenario manager in AquaTwin is that you can use the save query of pipes to define what is active in a scenario. You can manage this in the Options tab of the Scenario Manager. For this example, I have a saved query of pipes called Zone 1. So what I can do is go back to the Scenario Manager, create a new scenario, and we'll call it Zone 1. From here, I can go to that Options tab, check Apply to a saved query of pipes, and choose that saved query. Now when I exit out of this and run the model, you'll notice that everything inside of that saved query has hydraulic model results, as seen in the bottom right-hand corner. And then anything outside of that query, the model was not run for that section of the model. That concludes our tutorial on the Scenario Manager and AquaTwin.